Welcome to the Quick Power Rentals series of videos. In this video, we would like to show you how to set up groups in the Intelligent Load Bank software. This setup is essential if you plan to use the controls to operate multiple load banks as a single system, or if you wish to write a script to control one or more load banks. Writing and executing scripts will be covered in another video. By now, you should have physically set up your network of one or more load banks and been able to connect to the load bank or load banks with the Intelligent Load Bank software. If not, please go back and watch our other videos that go over how to do that. Once in the load bank control system, on the left-hand side of the page, select the Groups tab. Once in the Groups tab, you will notice three distinct windows. First, you will see the window on the top left. This shows the load banks that you have available to add to a group. Each load bank can only belong to one group, so if you already have groups set with load banks added, those that already belong to another group will not be shown here. Moving to the right, the largest field will show you the load banks that have been added to a group. It will show only those that are in the highlighted group in the third window, which is in the lower left. As you can see, we are starting from scratch and don't have any groups shown in this third window. So let's create one. Click Create. A pop-up will appear where you can name your group. You can name it whatever you want. If the group will be tied to a specific circuit breaker or generator, you can give it the same name to make it easier to identify. We will name this one Circuit Breaker CB1A. Once you enter the name and press enter, you will get another pop-up that asks you to select the voltage setting you will want the load banks in. If operating at 208 volts, you will usually want to be in the 240 volt setting. Select 480 for this example and click OK. Now you can see that you have one group in the lower left window named CB1A. With that group highlighted, select the available load banks that you want to add to this group. Since CB1A is a 2000 amp breaker that protects a 1500 kW generator, we have only tied in one 1000 kW load bank and one 600 kW load bank. In the available load bank window, you can either A, highlight a load bank and click Add Selected one at a time as shown, or B, first click the Multi button. Then while holding the control button on your keyboard, click the load banks that you would like to add. Once they are all highlighted, you will click Add Selected. If you wanted to add all the load banks available to this group, you can click Add All. But let's stick with our example and just add the two load banks that have been verified to be tied into this breaker. Click OK, but please know that if any of the load banks being added to a group have any load applied, the load will be shed at this time. Now we get into the group settings page. Be sure that the group name that you wish to set is highlighted. There's only one group right now, so that's easy. Click Group Settings. You need to set the voltage that you will be applying to the load banks. This will help the system calculate the appropriate D rating if you decide to use the load banks for a 415 volt test. Next, you have two values that you need to enter. The first is what is currently called our design max, which should be the amount of load we want as 100% for this group. It could be the nameplate capacity of the device that you are testing, that is, the generator or the UPS, or the total amount we can apply to this group without tripping a breaker. The system will do the math and let us pick percentage load steps based on this value. The other value is the safety max. Since we can select percentages of our design max that are in excess of 100%, the safety max will set an upper limit of applicable load for this group. If the test only requires you to test to 100% of your entered design max, you will want to have the same kW entered in the safety max field. Remember, although you have a 2000 amp breaker, our generator is only rated for 1500 kW, so you'll overload it if you enter here the total amount of load that you have available. Notice the calculations that the system does on the right. This comes in handy if you're dealing with a limiting factor in amps, like a circuit breaker. You could ballpark where you think your load will be so you don't overload the system. Our system is rated in kW, so punch in a max kW of 1500 kW for both the safety max and the design max. By now you've noticed the offset power field. Depending on the load bank and how you have it set up, you might have to figure in the blower power of the load bank to the total amount of load that you are going to apply. Up until this point, all of the load taken into consideration has to do with the load resistors in the load bank. But the fan power is real load that your system will see, so make sure that is figured in. With the fans running, click Set Offset from Load Banks. In most cases, you will get a value that will autofill. You'll want to verify that this is right, as sometimes the load is too light for the load bank's CTs to pick up. You can always manually enter in the actual amount for the group. Entering in the offset will subtract the appropriate amount of load from the amount that will be applied to the resistors when applying load in percentages in either the Groups or Scripts tab. Click OK to continue. The system has now been set up and we can easily operate this group. To do so, from the same Groups tab, make sure the desired group is selected. To turn all load banks in the group so that the intelligent load bank system is in control, select Control State On. To turn on the fans or blowers for all of the load banks in that group, select Blower State On. At this point, on larger load banks, you will need to make sure that you have the phase rotation correct. This will be obvious as you will notice at least one alarm indicator on this screen. To apply load, select the Pick Load button. The Select Target window will appear. Either select one of the kW presets on the left, which are percentages of the group's design max, or type in the amount of load desired. Select Apply Load, at which point the amount of load selected will be applied. You can see the amount of load applied in the lower right-hand corner where you may see a change in the active capacity values. You can also see the load applied on each load bank in the line for each load bank in the window at the top of the page. To change the amount of load applied, go through the same steps. The new load will be applied. If you wish to shed all load, simply select Shed Load. All load will be removed, except for any fan power. We have now successfully created a group and performed some operations with it. Creating additional groups would be accomplished in the same way. Groups do not have to be all the same voltage. For instance, you can put load banks in different areas of a power path, with some at 480 volts and some at 208 volts. All load banks within a specific group must be fed by the same voltage. We hope that you have found this video useful. For more how-to videos related to our equipment or to learn more about what we do, visit us at www.quickequip.com. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call at 877-383-4040 or email us at rentals@quickequip.com. We are the load testing experts and are here to help. We hope to hear from you soon.